So in this video, we're going to be showing you how to create a basketball design from start to finish. So what we're going to do here is come into Google, and I have a basketball image. I'm just going to drag and drop right into my current Corel Draw workspace. Now, what I'm going to do for this example, I'm going to go to my wireframe mode, just because sometimes I think it's easier when we're working with our bitmap. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to right click on our bitmap and choose the lock object option. And now I can't accidentally pick up my bitmap and move it. I cannot select that because it is locked down. So then what we're going to do now is just drag out a circle. Of course, we hold down our control key with our ellipse tool here inside Corel Draw, and we can constrain to a perfect circle. So there is my circle. Now what we need to do is switch over to our pen tool here in Corel Draw. So there's our pen tool. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to draw the lines of the basketball. So first things first, we're going to snap to the edge of our circle. And to me, that is one powerful vector drawing function here inside Corel Draw. And I'm going to show you why here more specifically, but being able to snap to the edge of existing documents or objects. Under the View menu, there's an option to snap to objects and also snap to guidelines as well. So that's why we're able to do that. So we're going to click right at the edge and come up here and click. And what we did is we just drew a straight line. Now we're going to switch over to our Shape tool, and I can right click on that line and click to Curve and change that so we match that kind of slight bend. Switch back over to my pen tool, and we'll go ahead and add these extra lines in. So we're just going to click on the edge of our circle to the edge, hit the space bar to exit out of our pen tool, and then hit the space bar to go back into our pen tool and draw the next straight line segment. So again, snapping to the edge, coming over here, snapping to the edge, space bar to exit out of the pen tool, space bar to go back into the pen tool. Again, snapping to the edge, up here at the point to the edge, down here to the edge, space bar to exit out again. So now we have these straight line segments. We're going to switch back over to our Shape tool and make an adjustment. Now you can see one of these is already kind of dotted. If I come over the line very carefully, you see that little kind of squiggly, you also see that just a little squiggly line up here. That means I can do something with that line. So if I right click and choose to curve, then I can change that. See, so I've changed that. Same thing here, right click to curve, and now I've changed that, and it basically matches that more or less. Now if I click on a different line, now you can see it's dotted. If I hover over it, you get the little squiggly again. Right click to curve, and just straight up like that. So now we have that. And the same thing here, click on this straight line, right click to curve, and there we go. So now we have the basis of our basketball. Let's just copy, make a duplicate. So I just click and drag and right click to make a duplicate, and there is our basketball. Now let's go ahead and make another duplicate of that, because and you know what, I'm gonna make one more because we're gonna show you a few different things here. Now, right now this basketball is basically 3 inches, so we could scale it up if we wanted to, make it as big or as little as we wanted to. Now if I come in here and I'm going to switch over to orange stones here, and I come in here and I select add stones, it's going to add stones to that line. Let's go back over to enhance mode here. You can see it adds stones, but look at the intersections. Every intersection all the way around here is a little ugly. Now this one here, you can see the stone's close, but it's not quite. This one is even more off. So it's not, this one here, not very pretty, right? So not very pretty. The other thing I just want to be able to show you here, right now this basketball is about 6 inches. If I make it smaller and click add stones again, what happens is all those stones are just recalculated for the new smaller size. So I'm able to scale the basketball up and down, and the number of stones on the lines will automatically adjust. But that still doesn't fix these intersecting problems. And that is just a nightmare no matter what. And that is true with any rhinestone software. These intersections where these stones overlap, especially like on a basketball, baseball design, lots of different designs where you have lines crisscrossing one another. Really, honestly, there is a rhinestone program out there that handles that job very, very well. So what we have to do is we have to just kind of educate Corel Draw and what our real intention is. So let's go ahead and clear stones. And what we do is we have a function over here in our editing tab called intersections. And so we're asking EasyStone, you know what, look at these intersections and fix those for me. So when I click on that button, you don't really see much happen, but EasyStone just that quickly fixed these intersections. But here's what it did, just so you have a better understanding, is when we drew the basketball initially, we had just a basic circle, right? But because we told EasyStone to look at all the intersecting lines, what it actually did was it looked at every intersection and created this little segment. So that now when we click on Add Stones, if you look at these intersections, okay, now those are looking. Now this one, that doesn't look so good, but let's look at the rest of them. That one looks good. All of these look good. That one looks good. That one. It's just this one. What's going on here? Well, let's switch over to the wireframe mode and take a look, because something is amiss here. Why? Why is that intersection messed up? Well, the reason it's messed up is because even EasyStone, it's only as smart as its programmer, and trust me, I'm not very smart, especially when it comes to math. And so what's really happening here, let me just switch over to my shape tool, see this a little bit better, is where this curve is intersecting the outside edge of our basketball, EasyStone didn't get the calculation right. You can see it's off for whatever reason. And the fact of the matter is, this calculating of intersections is a complicated calculation process, and EasyStone does a great job. It just doesn't do a perfect job every time. Sometimes it'll do a perfect job every time, but in this case it didn't. So we have to make that change and make that edit. So if I click on this line, you can see what it does. This little dotted line goes past that intersection point, right? So all we have to do is just double click on the line. That creates a node, and then click and drag the node to the end node of this. And then we can double click on this end node and trim that line back. So for over here, where this line didn't go far enough, which is kind of the opposite. Double click to create a node right behind the beginning node, and then on the end node here, we can just click and drag and lengthen the line. So now we fixed that up in just a second. So again, I would select everything, click on Add Stones again, because when we're making a line shorter like we did, or we're extending a line, we may have to add or delete a stone on that path. Because see, this is a separate path here, just like this one that we added is a separate path. So just a good habit to get into. So now when I come back into my enhance mode here, we can see this a little bit better. Now, the next phase of this is to say, okay, this is more or less the way I want it. I would like a stone right here in the middle. And right now, the size of this basketball doesn't permit me to do that. So what we're going to do is we're just going to make this a little bit bigger, right? And click Add Stones again. See, there's still no stone right in the middle there. And I really wish there was. So let me make it just a pinch bigger. Click on Add Stones again. And now we have a stone in the middle. Okay, so now I'm happy. I like the way this design looks. I did have to make it, obviously I had to make it a little bit bigger. It's 3.6 inches instead of 3, but that's okay. It looks the way I want it to look. Now, there is a couple of minor problems where these two stones are overlapping and these two stones are overlapping. But other than that, it's really not a big deal, right? So the next process to finish this. Right now, all of the stones are applied to a path. If I come in here and I view the wireframe, you can see all these paths. Well, we need to get rid of those paths because we don't want to output that to our cutter. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to select all of our stones, the whole design, and click on Break Stones. And now the stones are broken away from the path. But now we need an easy way to select our paths. So over here in our Selections tab, we actually have a function that says Select Define Paths. So I can select the entire design, click on Select Define Paths, and now it's extracted all of those lines. Now typically, I would save those paths because this has already been fully edited, so we could resize it to whatever size we want and add more stones, right? So I would typically save that. But then over here, I have loose stones. Now let me show you something here so you have a good understanding. You see where we have these outline stones, and then we have this curve, right? Right here, where these two intersect, there's always going to be a stone on top of a stone. You see that? So there's a stone on top of a stone, and because we have this line segment, and this one. Right where the three intersect, boom, 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 there's three stones right on top of one another. Okay? So that does pose a problem. Now the other thing here is we have two stones overlapping. Well, let me show you there's a tool over here in our editing tab that deals with this. So I can select the entire design, and I can say, you know what, do this for me. Look at this entire design. If there are any stones within 0.2 of a millimeter from edge to edge, highlight them for me. And any stone that is directly on top of another stone, that's overlapping, that's a direct overlap, I want to just delete. So watch what happens. So we click on check spacing, and you can see a progress bar going along here, and it's calculating and looking at every stone in our design. It says there are two stones found within the tolerance. Do I want to fill it with red, or do I want to delete them? Okay, so yes, fill it with red. And then there are 25 overlapping objects, because remember, we've got lots of intersections here. So yes, let's go ahead and dispose of them. Now, if you look at the design itself really didn't change, but the two stones that were within that tolerance margin have been turned red. And so that just tells me, on a simple design like this, it's probably not that big a deal. But on a more complicated design, it's helpful to have those stones marked so we can go ahead and make those adjustments that we need to those two stones. And then we can come in here and go ahead and choose this button, this red button. And all it does is take those two stones that were converted red and puts them back to whatever the default fill value that they had before they were turned red. So very, very useful feature. Now, the next thing we need to look at is all these stones have a black outline. So when we create a design using EasyStone, we always get those black outlines, because to me, it helps define our stone a little bit better. So we'll select all of those, and we'll get rid of the outline. So now you can see that none of those stones have an outline. So what's the next thing that we need to do? Well, the next thing that we're probably going to want to do is we cut all of our rhinestone templates out of our color flock, which is a flock-based rhinestone template material that has an adhesive back to it. And so we need a weed box all the way around our basketball. And even if we were to send a proof image to a customer, we would want a weed box around our basketball as well. So that's where I'd come over to the Miscellaneous tab and choose a weed margin. Now there's 25.4 millimeters per inch, and because typically in EasyStone I like to work within millimeters, I say I need a weed margin of 25 millimeters, which is basically an inch. So when I click Add Weed Box, the software will automatically add a 1-inch weed box around my design, or whatever size weed box I specify. Now the next thing that I might want to do is I might want to convert these stones. I might want to send a proof to my customer. So I'm going to come back over here to my Stone tab and choose the Simulate option. And what that will do is it'll take all of our filled circles and convert them into a realistic looking rhinestone for our proof image. You can see a progress bar down here because it's replacing all those circles. There's 217 of them that it needs to go in and replace. Now my simulation's complete, and now you can see we get a great looking result for our basketball. Now, from there, what's the next thing we want to do? Well, if we're going to create a proof image for a customer, we're going to want to add a little sparkle, a little bling to our rhinestones. So we'll come over here to the miscellaneous tab, and we have a function here called add bling. So we'll go ahead and click on add bling. We get a secondary box, and we can specify the size of the bling. We can specify the amount of the bling. We could even specify the color of the bling. The type of object, the little star shape, the little bling shape, we can even define what that shape is. Now, I already have a default one, so we're going to just not click on the path one. We can have the bling randomly change size, and under the size fluctuation, we can tell it how much random sizing we want, if any. And we could also rotate the bling at random if we wanted to. So lots of different options there, but I typically don't use any of those. So let's just go ahead and see what happens. Let's say we're going to have 10 blings added to our basketball. And when I click on this button, you can see there's our little blings, right? Now, when it does this, it just kind of throws them in there willy-nilly. I like to switch over to my wireframe mode because I can really see the blings a lot easier. And if I wanted to, see, sometimes it puts a bling almost right on top of one another. We can just kind of scatter these about. You know, if we didn't want one, we could certainly hit delete. If we wanted to add another one, we just select it and right-click and make a duplicate bling. So, you know, just like we're working in Corel Draw, of course, because we are. But let's go back over here to Enhance mode. And so now you can see I have those little sparkles added. If I really wanted to, I could come in here and choose the Quick Select Bling option. Sometimes I add bling. I'll say, you know what, I want to get rid of it because it's too big. Maybe we'll do a size 6 bling instead. So we'll go ahead and click on that again. And again, there's our bling objects, so they're a lot smaller than what they were. And we could fine-tune, place those if that's what we wanted to do. So a couple of different options there available to us. Okay, so now that we have that done, we can go ahead and get rid of our bling object because we're done blinging, and it brings up our original Easy Stone palette here. And the next thing that we might want to do is export a proof image. Okay, so what we could do here is just come in here and select our basketball, and if we choose export proof image, we could say, you know, give me a JPEG on my desktop, and I click export proof, and I give it a name because I haven't already named the file that I'm working on, and put I'll just call it KJ basketball, and then on my desktop there will be a JPEG image of my basketball design. So once I have my design approved from my customer, then the next thing I need to do is I need to export an EPS file that I can send to my cutter, right? So what we're going to do this time is we're going to go ahead and select our basketball with our weed box with all of our bling objects, and we're going to go ahead and choose export EPS file. And we can give it a weed margin. We can tell it where I want to save the EPS file. We can add registration marks if we wanted to, but in this case we're not going to do that. And then we're going to go ahead and choose export. And automatically the software is going to give us the option to name it again. And let's do KJ basketball again. Because again, we have not saved this document that we're working on. That's why it throws this up at us. It does give us the option to save a Corel Draw file because we haven't yet saved one. But we won't do that for this example. We'll just go ahead and click OK. And what it does, it tells us the export's complete, which is nice. It actually will take our objects. Remember, they were simulated rhinestones, and it automatically converts them to just filled circles. And notice our weed box is part of what it created for us. So it adds that right here inside our Corel document, which is kind of nice. But on the desktop, let me just go to my desktop here. There's that KJ EPS file that it exported. And if I import that, you can see this is the EPS file that it imported. So it has our weed box along with our basketball that we would insert into our sign software to actually send to our vinyl cutter to cut. So definitely nice features here in order to export the proof image. So with just a one-click button. If we were to export a proof image using Corel Draw, watch the difference in clicks. Okay, so I'm going to select my object. I'm going to hit Export Proof on the desktop, call it a JPEG, Export Proof, give it a name, and click OK. Okay, so now that's it. We've exported our proof image. Now let's look at the Corel Draw way. We're going to select our image. We're going to hit File. We're going to hit Export. It's going to ask us where we want to export it. So let's export it to the desktop. What type of export we want to do. Let's do JPEG. Let's choose Export. Brings up a dialog box that I then have to hit OK to. And now it's exported. So a lot more buttons to click than just choosing the export proof image or export EPS function here inside EasyStone. So that shows you start to finish kind of how we go about doing our design process here inside CorelDRAW using EasyStone. Thanks for watching.